What's up, guys? Barry Gaming here, back with some more Idle Heroes news for December 8th, 2021. So, we have the skills card of Aspen, and man, oh man, does he seem promising. There's strategy with where you position him. His active does some insane single target damage. His basic hits back row enemies. He lowers control immunity. There's a lot of stuff here, so hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I know I will. Let's jump right into it. Alright, now let's jump into this. We have Lord of Fear Aspen, the next Transcendence hero. I feel good because I don't want to jinx it, but I haven't called him Asmodel but maybe once or twice. He looks a little bit like an Asmodel, but he is the corrupted Aspen. So we're gonna skip past his active skill real quickly. So let's scroll down. We'll get to that here in a minute. I want to talk about his basics and his passives first because you can better understand his active at that point. So number one is actually, I want to scroll all the way to the bottom and talk about his last effect. So let me get all the way down here. So he has an ability called Fear Abyssal Gaze. Control effect, Fear. Heroes inflected with Abyss Gaze are unable to launch a basic attack and crit. So they cannot cause a crit, which is kind of insane. So essentially it's a better Horrify. So they can't use a basic attack. And if they can use an active ability, it can't crit. So that's kind of solid. Let's scroll back up here. Let's go to the first passive ability, Deadly Grasp. Basic attacks target back row enemies, dealing 800% of attack damage. That is pretty solid. And reduces their control immunity by 15% for 3 rounds. Now, it doesn't say it can't stack, so it sounds like it can stack, with a 70% chance to inflict Fear Abyssal Gaze for 2 rounds. Afterwards, increase self-crit rate by 20% for 3 rounds. That kind of sounds solid. Self-crit buffing is really good. I mean, it sounds like with Punisher, he might be deadly, but he'll probably have a crown on most situations anyway. But this is a good back row basic. Hitting 4 enemies, or up to 4 enemies, I guess I should say. Decent chunk of damage. Reduces control immunity, which is some really good synergy with Jara, Starwing Jara. So if he goes before Jara with a basic and then she uses an active, there's a pretty good chance they are going to be locked down, which is solid. So yeah, and the fact that, you know, he has a Horrify ability means he probably synergizes well with heroes like Carry as well. And again, Carry might resurface in the meta. Okay, let's move to Source of Fear. So, Source of Fear, whenever an enemy is inflicted with fear, restores self HP equal to 10% of his max HP. And gives him 20 energy and increases self-attack by 8% for 3 rounds and control immunity by 6%. So he still has that same thing where, like, every round, so to speak, he gains attack and control immunity, which is cool. Yeah, restores self by 10% every time someone is inflicted by fear, and his back row targets 4 targets, up to 4 targets. That seems pretty solid. At the end of each round, reduces the energy of all enemies with fear by 50 points. So that's cutting their energy in half, with an additional 30% chance to reduce their energy by 50. So he's almost like a carry as well. Like, that sounds like some really good utility, especially considering it's really attached to his basic. His basic is the one that hits the most targets to fear them. So the fact that his basic attack has a 70% chance to inflict fear while also reducing control immunity by 15%, which I don't know how that layers it. If it reduces it by 15% and then tries to apply the 70% fear, that could be pretty insane. Yeah, that's a lot of energy reduction. And then his last ability down the bottom here is Death Spread. Whenever an enemy dies, increases his self crit damage by 30%, with 100% chance to inflict Fear Abyssal Gaze for 2 rounds. Now, it sounds like this self crit damage is permanent. It doesn't say, like, I don't know if it means all of this is for 2 rounds or if it's just the inflicting of fear for 2 rounds. It sounds like inflicting of fear. I don't know how to take this one. So the way that I interpret this is it means he has a 100% chance to inflict fear abyssal gaze for 2 rounds. That means on any of his attacks, whether we're talking about active abilities or basic attacks, it just ups it to 100% chance, which is still modified by control immunity, control precision, all that, control immunity, offset, all those things. So this part's interesting. We're gonna have to see how this one works out, because just on first glance, don't know. But now let's go to the big daddy. So yeah, his active ability is a long one, which is usually pretty good, and has very strategic positioning required. So Soul Shiver deals 1000 attack, which is a good chunk of attack, damage to a single enemy, prioritizing the target in the same position. So even though Drake will target the person with the lowest HP, you can just position him wherever in your lineup to line up across from that hero. It might take an extra attempt to see where they are, where the Drake is targeting, but you can literally target him and see, so he'll synergize with Drake, at least for the first round, the first enemy killed. So he's going to do that attack 2 times. So he's doing 2000% attack in 2 different hits, and inflicts fear abyssal gaze for 3 rounds. I don't know if that's guaranteed or if it's 100% that can be modified by control immunity. That's going to be something we have to test as well. We're going to have a lot of his mechanics breakdown, I think, in the first day. I kind of like doing the mechanics breakdown videos just to really get a hold of what the hero can do. After the attack, if the target is below 40% HP, it'll deal an additional 2 times 1000 attacks and restore self equal to 120% of the damage dealt. This attack also has a feature which we'll go over here in a minute. It's for bosses, Demon's King Might. It's pretty solid. Again, we'll go over that in 1 second. If this attack kills the enemy, he's going to deal an additional 1000 attack 2 times against all enemies. After this attack deals so then after all that, it deals extra 1000 damage to enemies in the same position. So at the very least, there's a lot to break down from this. From the very least, even if the target does not drop below 40% HP, you're still hitting the target 3 times for 1000 attack. Now chances are that first hit with the active is probably going to bring the target below 40%. So you're looking at 5 hits of 1000 attack. That's pretty solid. We are gonna have to break that down and compare it to Sword Flash, but he definitely seems like a possible substitute. Now, that all sounds cool, but we have to talk about the last thing here, which is the Demon King's Might. So Demon's King Might is also attached to the active ability. Demon's King Might, as the Lord of Fear Aspen, deals harsher damage to the enemies who dare challenge his majesty. So basically, for bosses that cannot be controlled by fear, Aspen will deal an additional 120% of the damage dealt by this attack to them and steal 30% attack from them. So that sounds permanent. That doesn't have a round limit. That doesn't have anything. That just says straight up steals 30% attack from him. Which means for things like Broken Spaces 8 and 9, where people have started using Tixes and Delasiums, now you can use Lord of Fear and Delasium potentially and just keep replicating that attack steal. This attack steal sounds very much like Illyria's attack steal that we've used in cheese methods all over the place. I wonder if they're gonna change Delasium, because this seems like this could get out of control pretty quickly. But I mean, shields are gone, Magic Stone swords are gone, so you don't have to worry about that. Maybe this is the reason why they did it. They got rid of the shields thing because they knew like Lord of Fear Aspen would completely break it. But he's gonna deal an extra 120% of the damage dealt. I don't need to tell you how broken abilities like that are, because we have a hero in the game called Ithaquo who deals a % of the damage dealt as a poison or bleed. Granted, his is just going to be from raw damage, so it can't be replicated by Delasium or anything, but he's stealing attack from enemies. isn't as big of a deal in newer game modes because they have very low attack levels compared to older content. But just my first impressions here, guys. Lord of Fear Aspen is going to be very, very strong. I'm going to do a breakdown and compare his skills to Sword Flash's here so we can get a better hold on, is he a viable first Transcendence hero? Maybe? Sorta? Kind of hard to build him first, but we'll see. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I cannot wait to do tons of testing with Lord of Fear Aspen. He's going to be amazing, I think. Situational targeting is very good, that you can manually position him wherever you want. I think is one of the best features of him. So, all right, that's enough. Hopefully you guys enjoy this one. I'll see you guys next time.